In terms of chess, you've been very active. I was saying to my community, you've been playing in almost all of our viewer tournaments on the channel.
Yes, yes.
You even gave a name to one of the previous ones, the Mouse Slip Arena.
Yes, yeah. It's more fun to compete against others because, like, one game that I played, I almost beat. I think it was like 1600, and I lost in such a silly way. I was ahead the whole game.
I know that game. We're gonna take a look at it. I made a collection of some of your viewer tournament games and which ones we can learn the most from. So that's one of them.
Right.
You played so well that game. But that final move, the pin on the back rank, I think that's the game you're referring to.
Yes. Yeah, it was some pin or some fork, something silly. That's all I remember. And then I was like, oh, this is over. But 3 minutes with 2 seconds increment feels like I have endless time.
Mm-hmm.
Such a
Even the 2 second
that format
increment makes
feels
you
easy.
feel that way.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear because 3
Sure.
plus 2 is quite a common blitz format. In the sub battles, it's usually 3-0 because it makes it even more entertaining. And I wonder what the format will be for PogChamp 3 and when it will be, because nothing is announced yet. But I'm really hoping there will be one. And
You have to pull your strings, you know. Like,
I'm trying my best. I already
Play
said.
90-minute games. I think that's where I would shine. Yeah.
I'm gonna try my very best, but we're gonna start with some of the games that you played in the viewer tournament, if that's fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna invite you to an analysis board. Let me go to my actual setup for
Lead the way,
today.
coach.
And if you have any questions from other games or in general, you fire away.
Okay.
Do you want to start with that game that you mentioned?
Okay. All right.
This is the one. Take us through the game. I'm gonna give you. Actually, I think you can move the pieces already, can't you? Let me know.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. So the French defense. I'm always happy to see Yamato playing the French.
These moves are reflexes at this point in time. I'm just looking to break, and I regret that I just didn't pawn break here. Like, I think it was correct of me to just pawn break here because this queen move looks wrong.
So you would take or push?
Take. So I would want to do this because I am attacking the square more.
Yes, exactly.
So I would win a pawn or win something here, and then ideally what I would want is, like, I'm just looking at this and the fact that he didn't castle. I know I didn't castle either, but I am more comfortable with abusing someone else not castling over me castling. But that's maybe just my ego that's been building up over our lessons.
I like it. I like that you want to take advantage of that immediately.
All right. So I didn't did I capture?
You did.
Oh, I did
That's why I was
capture.
curious
Wow.
if you meant C4
Okay.
you preferred, but no, you took the pawn.
Okay. No, I honestly, it's like watching, reading a book that you read years ago, and it's like a re-experience here. Okay, so this was lovely. Yeah, I love being in this position. My queen is so active.
Quick question there. After knight takes d4 on move 10, what would you play? Just let's visualize it. If the queen were to give this check.
I think I would just bishop, move my light square bishop to block it.
Let's double check.
Okay. As in play it? Is there something poisonous now? What am I missing? Oh shit. Okay. Oh no. All right. Give me another try, Anna.
Actually, the evaluation bar still likes it, so it's like it's crazy chaotic. But how can you save the piece to not even have to give up the knight after queen a4? What can you do to not lose it? So you take on d4, and then the queen check. So instead of knight takes, if white gives this check, what can you do?
I guess I just move back, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah. It's really important to remember that you will always have that move because it's in the French defense, you always try to capture the pawn on d4, but as long as you can jump back with the knight, it's fine.
Cool. Yeah, I think I was just being too hasty. Yeah.
Well done.
Okay.
It's interesting how you can take the pawn because your opponent played queen to c2, because imagine the same position. Imagine this position. Now, if let's say your opponent castles, can you calculate that line if you take everything on d4?
I guess the difference here is that he will have. Will he have the bishop check into the queen? Will cover the square.
So if you want to draw arrows and see what that would be like.
So I capture. Let's say he pawn capture. I capture. He. And he capture. My queen is covering the square.
Where's your queen in that position? Can you imagine? It's a very long line, a very long one. Lots of arrows. Hikaru would be proud of you.
And then... Oh, I would lose my queen.
Well done! Let's show it to everyone because it's a really long line, but you spotted it. You would lose your queen.
Cool. Should I just play it out? Boom.
Yeah, let's play it out.
Boom.
Yep. Well done.
Oh, my queen. No.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is really important to remember that yes, you want to take the d4 pawn, but there's always this trick. If the queen is on d1, you need to make sure that your king doesn't get a check. That's why it's great that your opponent played queen to c2. I guess to put pressure on the knight, but because of moving the queen away from d1, now you can take the pawn, and you did. So all of those tactics don't work anymore, and now you also have spotted that the knight can always come back if there's a check on a4. So that's all great. What happened later? Show us. In this position too, I'd like you to think a little longer because you made a good move, but maybe there's a better one.
Oh, wow. This looks so nasty.
Beautiful! Winning the queen, bishop b4.
Holy moly. Wow. Holy. It's
okay, because it's a blitz game, and I'm sure that you were like instantly moving to save time. But now it's good to also take a bit of a moment to see some of the patterns that were there in the game. So well done. If you had more time, I'm sure you would have played it.
This reminds me of the game where I blundered the game by moving my queen. But it turned out I didn't blunder the game by moving my queen. It was a move later where I didn't move the bishop back.
I see. Yes, it's quite a common theme. It's very easy to step into it. It's so easy to blunder this.
Oh, okay.
So for PogChamp 3, we're gonna use this because your opponents would actually be able to do this too. Step into it.
Oh, it's gonna be like a Yu-Gi-Oh match. They've activated my trap card.
Yes.
Boom.
This is gonna be your trademark trap.
All right. Holy. This looks very nice. I want to frame this in. Holy.
And it's
Checkmate,
just beautiful.
Chawan, I'm coming back for you.
He plays regularly in the viewer tournament, so you will get your chance in the future, I'm sure.
Okay. Nice.
But yes, it makes it beautiful that the black queen is hanging if it wasn't for the pin. So that's an additional beauty feature there. Queen f4 is still a strong move because you're a pawn up. And you were so brave because obviously all this for winning the pawn. Now white takes the initiative and has this check. You don't really have a good way of preventing it. But you didn't mind. I felt like in the game you weren't scared about this at all. Or tell us how you felt if you remember.
I felt... I'm trying to remember. Like... I just want to see what my moves.
Sure.
I felt good about it because I think even though my rooks are not connected, I felt like with my king placement here, I can develop my rook with a tempo. Mm-hmm. And if he moves away the queen from this file, there's no easy way for him to defend the pawn that is out and about. Mm-hmm. And his king is still in the center. So I felt good about this. I felt like so many pieces off the board, so it's no problem that my king is in the center.
Very good job. You still have this threat, but your opponent castled, so unfortunately that was not another opportunity for playing bishop b4.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all, actually, the entire game.
I think it must have happened very quickly that he gave a check and castled, so it wouldn't be something noticeable. Okay. Show us what happened later, some of the other critical moments. because you played the
No.
game really well. You played this game very well. Very brave king on d7, then you took the e5 pawn as well, not minding that the b7 pawn is gone because you have this queen bishop battery. At h5, I love this game. You have your king on d8, but it's the white king that's being targeted.
Here, I don't know. This felt very winning, but a part of me was regretting that I didn't just place my rook here, but maybe it was too soon.
Yeah, with the white queen on the queen side, probably you would have had to come back. Let's say if in this position, instead of h4, you try to move that. It would be great to have the rook on the second, so it's great intuition. But I think the issue will be that your king will start getting more checks, so probably you have to come back.
Okay. All right. So what I did was fine.
It's perfect. You played this brilliantly.
Right.
It was an amazing game. This phase 2, there are different ways of converting it, but I think you went for a very logical one.
I think here I realized that maybe I realized here that maybe I can what's it called? Here my thought process, but I felt like I had too little time, was that I wanted to dislocate the king from the defense of the rook and then look to kill it. Now
How
when I'm
can you
looking
do
at
that?
it,
Can you spot a way now that you have that
I'm
idea?
thinking if there's like a check here, he needs to go onto light squares. I do that, and then I have that.
Well done.
But is there a
That was the strongest line. That was
Okay.
that was the strongest line. That was the winning combination. The one you played is also logical, but this was even stronger.
Okay. Yeah, upper rook looks much stronger. Yes. Okay. What did I do? Oh, that's sad.
It's okay because it was a 3-minute blitz game. I think at move 24, it's very likely that you were below a minute already.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just trying to buy time because I
Yeah.
was thinking and moving. I don't think I had any
Yeah.
ideas in mind.
I think here, because you were giving checks with the queen to win time, and then you realize that you need your bishop and rook in the game. Rook b8 I liked a lot, because you see what was your main threat after rook b8 with the queen on f2? I'm pretty sure that you had that in mind after rook b8. What you're threatening was the main one. Let's say I just developed the knight, because white has to develop these pieces at some point.
Oh, the pin again.
Yep. Again, that bishop.
okay.
No, different diagonal, but again. Telling you, it's gonna be a trademark.
I hope so.
You just moved the rook
I
to
didn't think
prepare
about this
bishop
at all in the
b6.
game. I have to admit, I didn't think about it at all in the game.
Then subconsciously you knew it. Subconsciously you went for it.
All right. I just wanted to, I guess, develop the rook and to. I've been in positions before where, when this is undeveloped, that I can punish this pretty heavily. So that was my idea. But the other idea looks a lot cooler for sure.
I'm sure you would have fun it if the queen didn't move. And look at your king again. So brave.
He's in his element. He's chilling behind 2 pawns. That's all right. And then I was certain there's some mate here somewhere.
Yeah. Let's try to spot one. Although I think you spotted that after king h4, you spotted one way of giving checkmate, and that's why you played rook f7. I think here you realized that if you could give this check with the rook, that's checkmate,
Yeah.
but unfortunately the queen is guarding that corner, so you move the rook up to then give this one. And that's good thinking. The only issue with it is that it gives a moment for white to start giving checks too, and then somehow white wiggled his way out of it and traded queens. Even the endgame, of course, is winning, but if you want to execute the checkmate here with more forcing moves, so checks if possible. Oh, you're trying to deflect the queen? That would be good if the bishop is captured, right?
So my idea is, it's over. So he can't. But I guess he can just, and it's the same. But then I
Yeah,
have...
he may try to keep the queen
Oh,
there.
I could just do this in the
Ooh.
first place.
But now it's gonna be checkmate, and he does not have more checks. Nicely done. Look at you.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Nice.
is the bishop move pointless?
No, not at all pointless. I think the only difference would be if after the bishop move, white does not move the queen, but either gives a check or pushes the pawn to attack your bishop. And now unfortunately, you can't take it. It would be great if you can take it and deflect it, but it's a check.
No.
But I like the idea a lot to deflect the queen. In terms of other candidate moves, what else do you think there is here for you in this position?
Well, my goodness. Is this just this check?
Yeah. But I'm sure you were low on time, and retreating moves are more difficult to spot. That's not a normal square for the bishop.
Oh no, it was so easy. No, that's funny. That's funny. Wow. Okay, is it
when
mate?
you're low on time, I think these are more difficult to spot because the rook one would be more natural, but it's covered, so you were focusing on how to get the rook there. This one would be mate next move, yes.
Okay. Wait. How does... Oh, okay. This puzzle. Puzzle defense.
Yes, that would be what the computer does to make you lose time in Puzzle Rush.
Or you just leave the queen on the board and...
Look at you with pins
nasty.
everywhere, everywhere. Beautiful, excellent.
Another one for the photo book, for the album. Boom.
Yeah, that pattern to win the queen, and now the same pin. I'm telling you, it's your trademark. This is your trademark. You keep going for it.
Okay. I hope I can have situations where I can use it today. I'm gonna only think about pins and plunder all my bishops.
Such a pretty position. This is definitely to be framed in the living room. Nicely done. It didn't happen in the game, but I'm sure you were really low on time. So like these, I don't consider as a mistake because you still went for the pattern, and it should be checkmate. But your opponent realized that he can bail out with this check. So this saved the day, at least from the checkmate. That after the trade, he does not get mated. Still, you had the right idea here because you moved the king, realizing that this would be a discover check. So that's looking great. I think the one thing you forgot, like you want to place your rook on the back rank because if you pin it, then the knight can never move. You had that idea in the game. What went wrong? Do you remember what went wrong, or do you want to play through it?
No, my king placement is just comes with the check. It's a disaster. My goodness. So sad.
You had the right idea, just the king was misplaced.
Yeah, that's painful.
So now that we know that king, unfortunately, as active as it is, it was unlucky that it's on e4. Yeah. Where shall you go? Where do you think you need to put that king to not be stepping into this earlier? Where can you go? Because you play the most active move. The king on e4 is beautiful.
I guess I just go for this square instead.
You could go to d4 because that's really active too. Let's say your opponent does the same as in the game. Just moves the king away. I think it was king g2, then check, then moved away. I can just do the same as it was in the game, but now with the king on d4. Can you find a way for white to develop his pieces, to get out of this pin? Because if he cannot move the knight or the rook, it's a disaster. Obviously, you will just start pushing your pass pawn. We are trying to find a pattern that would allow your opponent to get out of that back rank pin and not lose the rook.
What is the voodoo in the position, Anna?
You know that there's something, right? Tactics. There's a puzzle rush way of not losing the rook. Or losing it, but only momentarily losing it.
Okay.
Gripex has solved it.
Oh,
Gripex! There you go.
I
Both
see, I
of you have
see.
just, as soon as Gripex said it, Yamato also spots it. There's the team connection. 92. Excellent, because once the rook
Okay.
is taken, you have this fork that wins the rook back. It still, of course, looks terrible for white with the knight in the corner and you've got these passed pawns, but it's a pawn up for white and managed to get out of the pin. So this is the least bad that could happen in that endgame, which means that, as illogical as it is, normally you want to go forward with the king, have an active king in endgames, but if you want to just play for this back rank pin, where do you think is the best location for the king?
I guess I just put myself here.
Yes. So anywhere where it's out of the reach of the knight. No checks, no forks. And now if the knight moves, yes, you have the idea that you prepared, that it's gonna be a discover check, picking up the rook. No tricks, no forks. And if white moves the king away, it will be the same as in the game. This is how he moved the king in the game. So you would have the same position but without the king on e4. There's no check for white. And your position is completely winning because these are paralyzed and you cannot play a game without a rook and knight. There's just too much odds.
Yes, yes. Wow, okay.
But you were really low
This
on
is good
time
to
at
know.
this stage, so it's normal that knight jumps and knight forks are so easy to miss in the heat of time
Yes,
scramble.
yes. All right.
But
Okay.
what a good game. The whole game you played so well with that brave king in the middle of the board, then the kingside attack with h5, h4. It really was one of the best games I've ever seen by you. So it's such a pity that it didn't finish with a 0-1. You would have deserved a point.
Well, then I'm happy. Then I'm happy. That's all that matters. If you think it was a nice game, then I'm satisfied.
I truly
I
think
don't
it
care
was
about
one
the
of your
rating
best.
points.
Absolutely, one of your best games.
Cool, cool, cool. Fun. Thank you.
And now we know what's your trademark.
To miss the pins, yes.
No. No. Let's take a look at some of the rest of the games from the viewer tournament because I collected a few more. But if you have any questions about this game, let me know.
I think, yeah, if I think of something, I just ask right away. I think if anything, I was thinking if it's worth it for me to do the in-between move at some point to move my pawn here. Just to, but I guess it's pointless because there's a sequence where I can put my rook over there. So that question answered itself.
Yeah, I think you had the right idea that the pin is even stronger than pushing. Some of the viewers are asking about this final position. Sure, sorry, not in the game final position, but with king f5, this position. The question is, what if white just starts pushing the a pawn instead of moving these? And that's a good question, so I'm gonna let you answer it. What happens if white starts pushing this pass pawn? What would you do here?
I think it's too slow, no? I just start pushing my own pawn.
You can start pushing. What if now white continues to push? I keep going too.
I can just move my bishop down, I guess.
So your idea is that you will give up the bishop for this pawn, right?
Yes, but I get the knight and my pawn is already home.
Yeah. In a blitz game especially, so that you don't have to calculate the craziness, it's very practical to give up your bishop for the only counter chance of your opponent. You take the knight down and your pawn is still extremely strong and about to promote. I will try to stop it because now that my rook finally can move, but I can't stop it forever. How would you continue here?
I'll just place my rook over here.
Does that help you promote it?
Well, I guess maybe the more accurate way would be to just do this.
And if I play a move, let's say bringing my king closer.
I will... Do I just push my pawn?
You can push the pawn.
Or I just move my king forward?
Which one you think is priority? Which pawn of yours is more important here to focus on?
I guess my worry is that if he ever Like if we, I guess it's just my 1200 mind speaking, but I don't want to lose this pawn at any point in time. But maybe I shouldn't give it them.
No, that's good thinking too, because this is winning too. I was curious what would be your focus here. You don't want to lose the pawn.
Because I don't want to lose the pawn. It prevents the checks from coming, and I think I just because my king is so much better than enemy king that I can push both all the way.
Then that should be the priority, because whatever feels easier to you, go for it. It doesn't matter if the engine says, oh, maybe this is even faster. But if you're worried that your pawn will be taken and it's a check, then maybe white will give up the rook for your last pawn, and you need to calculate if you catch their pawn. So always go for what's easier for you. I'm very happy to see that this is priority to you, because then you will keep this pawn, and once you move, let's say your opponent plays this, and now when you move your king away, it's only one square away from the pawn, so it doesn't matter that I attack you. You can push and guard everything. Yes. Nicely done. Those connected pass pawns are crazy strong.
Nice. I guess my thinking process to add to it is that this also frees up my rook to be busy. And I guess it takes more thinking to get the pawn all the way with the king and the rook.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good job. Yeah. A couple of the solutions the viewers were suggesting, I'll just show because they are instructive, but this is a good way to continue. Another thing you can do when your opponent has this one chance, the A pawn, is to try to stop it as soon as you can, and that would mean...
Is that?
Yeah. Now you're completely paralyzing his pieces. The knight cannot move, the rook cannot move, the B pawn can move, but you will take it, so then it's one less pawn, and the same idea will apply later. And also when it's about who will promote first, you were right that you can also just keep pushing. So if you both promote, bishop b8 is good in a blitz game because you don't let him promote. But if you have the time to calculate, you can also just see, okay, so we are both 2 squares away, means that it's my goal, I will promote first, and even though my opponent also gets a queen, it's me who will move first with the queen, right? It's your turn now, and you are both 2 squares away from promotion, but you will be the first player to move with the queen.
I also have mate in 1, no?
Nicely done. Which square is it?
It's...
Excellent. Do you want to play out those moves now that you have spotted it?
Okay. I was worried about... I guess for some reason I was worried about knight capture, but that's silly. That was very silly.
Not silly at all, because imagine if the pawn could still keep running, if it was a B pawn or somewhere else, where maybe not B because the bishop will catch it, but if the pawn could keep going, it would make sense that if white gives up the rook and then promotes, but you are just in time, you'll take the rook and you are catching the pawn.
Yes, yes.
And if you both promote, exactly.
Boom. Boom.
Excellent. Well done. Well done.
Thank you, Anna.
But again, in a blitz game, you can be very practical and just either block it, give up the bishop for it, and then promote. So whatever comes easier to you, you don't have to play the best move of the engine. In the heat of the time scramble, what's important is that you're confident that you cannot mess it up. It's scary when you see your opponent's pawn running forward.
Indeed, indeed. Very scary.
Good game. This was really such a good game of yours. I would frame that position, the one that you showed earlier.
The positions I didn't play?
Well, you almost
as a reminder,
did it. You had
I'll put it on the roof. Every time I go to sleep, I'm going to be like, oh, pins. Pins.
Pins. We're going to take a look at a couple of other games of yours now. If there are no more questions about this one, I think those were the key moments. This one is also from a previous viewer tournament. You had the black pieces against Bunny Bubble. Take us through the key moments, because I think you will first need to check which one is it, which game of yours is this.
Was this in the Mouse Slip Arena?
The previous one. I forgot what was the name of the earlier one. And yesterday, you missed our biggest tournament, Yamato, but it started a bit too late. It was like midnight your time. We had the Unskilling Open.
Wow.
With over 600 players.
The names are getting better.
You were the one suggesting the mouse slip arena. Now everyone is inspired, and yesterday the viewers were once again suggesting names and Unskilling Open. I love it. It's more popular than the Skilling Open because we had over 600 participants. It was crazy.
Nice. Wow. I was actually asleep. I went to sleep at like 11.
Yeah, I thought
shifted
it
my
was too
sleep schedule.
late. It was very late. It's better that you are not awake playing tournaments at midnight.
I probably would have won it anyway, so it's like
Yeah.
it's good for you, for your fan base.
Yes.
That they had a fair chance. Because I would have pinned all of their queens.
Exactly. I need to make sure I organize the viewer tournaments past your bedtime so that I can give a chance to others too.
Yes, I agree. This game, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember Bunny Bubble, so I'm sorry if I'm offending you, Bunny Bubble.
Also a regular of our viewer tournaments. There are so many that it's difficult to remember everyone, obviously. You played so many games.
I know no one says to push f6, but this felt like a strong f6.
I like it. It restricts the bishop, and you probably had ideas of pushing pawns, or what was your main inspiration to move f6?
I planned to push the pawn in the center, yes. And then I felt like the sooner I can... Basically, this bishop position, it looked so bad. Like when I looked at this, I was like, this is so terrible. I need to punish this. And that was my thought process. That was my instinct. I was like, I need to punish this. It doesn't have any good square to go to in right now. And if he goes here, I can challenge it again. And then I have the castle move, and my rook is already pointing in the right direction. So it just felt this was very instinctual.
Very good thinking. I like how you always want to punish your opponents when they play something that looks like, oh, there could be a way of taking advantage of it.
Yes, so that's sometimes I get ahead of myself. So it's just this bishop, I wanted to attack it. And then
Nice how you after
confident.
e4 you didn't move the knight away, but you went for the counterattack with e5.
Is this correct? Just felt correct.
I think it should be correct. The evaluation bar keeps moving up and down, but I think in a practical sense, it has to be the correct move because your opponent's king is still in the middle of the board and you are ready to open up the f file. The E and F files are about to open up.
Right, cool. Is this move correct?
Yeah, he didn't dare to take the pawn on e5, but moved the bishop away, and then you took on e4. And lots of trades happened. Yeah, I was curious here about this sacrifice. So you decided to sacrifice, or did you miss that it's hanging?
I think I missed.
It felt like it could also be a sacrifice, because you're opening up the e-file. I was like, you're either going for a game inspired by Mikhail Tal, or maybe you missed it.
I just missed it. I straight up missed it. This queen here, this queen definitely, shouldn't be here, I think.
Hiding.
I don't know, it's just hiding, exactly, yeah. Just blocking his own rook, just chilling there, attacking my knight.
Yeah.
And maybe this was his gambit all along to move his bishop into a weird position to finally capture my knight.
It's very tricky when a queen is so hidden that you forget that it's also attacking the knight on f5. That would be me in League, just hiding in the bushes and trying to shoot from the bushes. But I was told as soon as I start using my attack, they will know I'm in the bush.
I guess with this, is it just a simple improvement of that? And then that's it?
Could be, although, what could be a drawback of that capture? Tell me about knight takes g3.
Okay, no.
Let's take a look at it, because you realize that there's an issue.
Yes.
What's the issue?
This rook is now... Oof, that's a disaster.
What would be an even more accurate move order for that attack? What do you think? Knight takes g3.
Oh.
So white can take back, or white can, instead of capture, check first and then take back, right?
Yeah. And then I have no option here. I'm just doomed. It's time to resign. It's a disaster.
I'm sure you would have managed to find your way out. I would imagine you going king f7 and then king e6 and brave king again. Brave king strategy. because it's not completely over. I think you still have fighting chances because the white king 2 is in the middle of the board.
Okay. So there's no reason to check here with the queen.
They could, but then I guess you keep running. You run.
I just keep running, and then he
Yes.
just begins to gobble everything up. Oh no.
Yeah, it's better to run than to have the king on the h5, because unfortunately if you put the king in the corner and then h takes, now this is problem. This is an issue.
Yes. Okay. No, I meant so it's better to in this position. Wait, I'm trying to find it again. Oh no, what did I do? Okay, here. Is this check meaningless?
No, it's not meaningless. It's a good question whether white should go for it, because you only have one move. The king has only one square to go to.
And then no.
Yeah, it looks scary. I definitely think this is problematic, but I think in a blitz game you still have chances of survival because there's no immediate checkmate, and even the follow-up is not clear because all these checks will lead to you running toward the queen side.
Okay.
So even if you take on g3, it's not lost. It is just terrifying to play it, but
Okay.
you're not lost.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So now
That's
that we
my
know
only
that
question.
the capture is not that good, what can you do? If you realize that the knight is hanging, you can't move it because the h7 pawn is hanging, what can you do about this situation?
I guess I could either push a pawn, which doesn't seem too bad.
Yeah, you're blocking the diagonal, you're also making sure the knight is not hanging anymore. That would definitely be one of the best defensive moves here. Exactly.
Cool. All right. And the other move is to move the knight, but that I'm gonna lose a pawn.
Yeah, you unfortunately can't move because of the capture on h7. I guess it's better to move it without capturing so that at least the h5 doesn't open up, but still you don't really want to lose that pawn. So g6 is a better option because then you can move the knight if you need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or the other way to defend it would be to place the queen here, but it's always scary to have the queen and the king on the same diagonal, right?
Yes.
So it's
That doesn't
possible.
look nice.
It's possible, and it may be not a bad move because it's the e5 too, but you just need to double check before you make a move like this. Double check that there's nothing on the diagonal.
Okay. All right.
So you went for it with this e takes d4, and I thought you did it on purpose. I was like, okay,
No.
Yamato is going for it because you take here. After the piece is gone, you capture on b2, the rook is hanging, this pawn is hanging. I thought maybe you wanted to give up the piece and attack the king.
I was like, oh wow, I lost a piece. Okay, what do I do next? Let's just pretend it doesn't happen and keep playing the game.
You did it pretty successfully. I thought if your opponent has to go king e2, because Bonnie Bubble didn't know here what to do with this situation. Rook hanging, pawn hanging, the e file. So immediately this king e2 wasn't the best reaction. What could you do here? What do you think would be the strongest here for you?
I just need to see what I played. Did I play pawn capture? Oh no. Oh no. I guess this is the best.
It's better, yes, because of the
Yeah.
pin, right? So the knight cannot move and you're
Yes.
about to win the piece back. I thought it would have been a brilliant turn of events. That you give up the piece and then you end up winning it back.
I had no idea. I was thinking 2 moves ahead, and that's it.
It's fine. In Blitz it happens, but even this position, I thought it was... You had fighting chances. What happened later? Oh, I remember this part. Do you want to play through these moves and see what happened?
What did I do?
You checkmated your opponent!
Oh!
You gave up a piece and then you ended up checkmating your opponent. You won the piece back.
I was so sure I fucked something up. I was so certain. I was like, how did I blunder my queen? Oh no.
No, you didn't. You turned the tables.
And you scared me. You scared me when you checkmate, you. My heart.
You did it. See, you're a
Alright.
fighter. You were a piece down and you ended up giving checkmate.
I think I remember Bunny Bubble now. I think Bunny Bubble was like 1050 rated. And I have in my mind that it's impossible for me to lose against someone that's lower rated than me. So I have this confidence.
Poor Bunny Bubble.
I'm sorry, Bunny Bubble.
He had the victim sign on his forehead.
I'm sorry, Bunny Bubble. I'm very sorry.
But you turned the tables and you did end up winning. Nicely done. Yes, after queen takes d2, even if your opponent doesn't blunder the checkmate, you already have won the piece back. You've got these pass pawns, connected pass pawns. So even if your opponent prevents the checkmate with a move like king g1 to guard the h1 square, I think you have a really good chance of winning this. How would you continue here to make sure that your opponent cannot make these pawns disappear?
I would do this. Oh no, I wouldn't do this. No, I wouldn't do this. No.
Careful. Yeah, let's break the other rook. Yeah, it's so important to see how the pieces relate to one another, what's their function. So the e8 rook is extremely important when holding the a8 rook. But yeah, by instinct, rook e5, yeah, attack and defend at the same time, right?
Yes. It just looked nice, but disaster. So I just defend the pawn with the rook. Is that's it? That's everything.
Yes, you defend it with this rook, and once this is protected, the d4 pawn is safe too. And slowly but surely, you will end up pushing them. Obviously, it's not so easy because now, if next move you push the c pawn, then the d4 pawn is taken, and you can't push the d pawn without the c pawn being on c4. So it will take some time and patience, but you are 2 pawns up. Everything is guarded, so this is a winning position. It's just not an immediately winning position.
Okay.
Any questions regarding this position or any earlier positions? Like how easy or difficult you find this to convert, for instance?
Well, my instinct would tell me to, like, I would want to develop, like, put my queen on a better square. So I'm thinking I have 2 options. Either I go here, or I push the pawn and I go here because I can activate my rook right away then.
Yeah, so you want to bring the queen back into the game because an h6 is a bit out of the plane now. Very good instinct.
But which way is better?
Good question.
It looks like I'm making my pawns worse, but maybe I'm not.
Is it weakening if you push g6? Do you think that weakens your king or not?
I think, honestly, not sure. Maybe it's not too bad because I'm trapped over there anyway.
Yeah.
So I can give myself some squares to move on, and as long as I cover the 7th rank, there's really nothing for him to threaten with. There's no diagonal checks, so maybe it's okay.
Another thing you can ask yourself, so g6, you're right, it looks like you need to do something with the queen. So if this is the way to come back, yes, you can do that, or the other way that you pointed out makes sense too. But one other detail you can always consider is what would this position be without queens? So that will tell you whether you are interested in a queen trade or not. Do you think this position would be better for you without the queens, or do you want the queens on the board?
I think much better without queens.
So if you know that the position would be better without the queens, you can use that in your favor because you can keep threatening to trade. What would be a move that would trade the queen or threaten to trade?
I guess I have this.
You can go
but
that way.
That's so slow.
Anything simpler?
I have to ask because I'm so stuck on this idea to move my rook up here
That's fine
because
too.
my
That's fine
because
too. Yeah, the rook is not
because my
hanging anymore, so you can go for that too. But if you wanted to trade immediately, let's say in this position I play this move and I'm threatening to take your pawn. How can you deal with this? Because now I don't give you time to push g6. Nice!
my
Excellent!
goodness.
Excellent! X-ray defense and you're threatening to trade. So I either allow the trade or I have to go back or to d6. But if I go to d6, what would be a good follow-up? What do you think?
I guess I just keep pushing for the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so important that once you analyze whether the position is better or worse for you without queens and you realize, oh, I can trade queens, you can always use this to activate your pieces because sure, yeah, white doesn't have to trade, but your queen is looking beautiful on e5. It moved from h6. In 2 moves, you activated the queen all the way to e5. So yeah, white doesn't have to trade, but it's helping you to place the queen in a better position. Nicely done.
Okay. And then now is the continuation just this for me? And
You
then I
could
can
go.
begin to push my pawn?
Yeah, you could go for that because even if white takes this a7 pawn, do you think that pawn is important for you?
No,
Yeah,
doesn't
not
feel
too
like it.
important. Yeah, right?
So, am I ready to push here already?
Yep, I think so. You just need to double check that there's nothing because the back rank would still be an issue if your rooks somehow are deflected from the back rank. But you just need to always look at like, oh, can this be taken? Is there any tricks that I'm missing? Can this be taken? But as long as you are sure that there's no pattern that you missed, you can push.
Okay.
Very good job. And your pawns are much stronger than this a2 pass pawn because now white also has a pass pawn, but it takes forever to start pushing that one.
Yes.
Good job. Very nicely done.
That's a bunny bubble pawn.
That's a bunny bubble pawn. Poor bunny bubble
I'm
got
so sorry, bunny
mated.
bubble.
Got mated on h1. Poor bunny bubble.
I'm sorry, bunny bubble.
We're gonna take a look at the game you played during an Among Us session. I
Okay.
didn't know that during the Mouse Lip tournament, you had a very important Among Us session too. It's impressive that you can multitask to this extent because you won a couple of games. Well done.
Yeah. maybe some easy ones. Maybe against. I can't recall any game honestly. So just roll the tape, Anna. Roll the tape.
I'm gonna choose the one, unfortunately for you, that's not the best in terms of result for you, but
Okay.
it's to learn from it.
That's okay.
Oh, no, it's not letting me.
After
Let's see.
how I cheated bunny bubble. I think everything-
Poor Bunny Bubble. I'm sure you will have a chance in the future. Bunny Bubble will have a chance in the future in a viewer tournament to play against you. And this game is from one of our most recent viewer tournaments, the Mouse Slip Arena, that was named thanks to Yamato's suggestion. I thought it was a brilliant one. And you started the game well. Let's go through the initial moves. I don't know if you're seeing it from Black's perspective, but you can always
Yes,
flip
yes.
the board.
I see it from the correct perspective. This is I have no idea why I decided to play this. This was new to me. I felt spicy here. So I just but then I was like, I need to go back to comfort. So I wanted to bring back the French defense. I thought
That's
it's fine.
good.
He wasted a move, I can waste a move, that's all right.
It's
was my
good
thought
thinking, though. It's okay to be in your comfort zone and play a structure that you know, even if your opponent made moves that I guess no one has played e3 against you. That's not very common.
Yeah.
And it's not a terrifying opening, but it still changes what you would go for. And then the bishop on d3, everything is very strange.
Yes. I was even considering if I should just play straight up, like pretend I'm white and just play d5 and just go.
Yeah.
Because this just seems, I don't know. He's playing for a draw in the Mouse Slip Arena. It's it's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, you can push d5 or e5 to flip it, but it's also fine to play e6, d5 and be in a similar structure that you would normally play.
Okay.
So after the bishop went back to d3, you pushed c5. I think this is great. And then he gave a check again.
I was like, okay. I was much happier with my pawns in comparison to his pawns. My pawns seem cooler.
Yeah,
Not
lots
sure
of
why I wanted to push this away.
What would have happened if he does not take your knight? I think you probably had that idea that if the bishop retreats, what was going to happen?
You would be trapped.
Exactly. So the moves would be... Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
And you win a bishop. Excellent.
Okay. That one I've seen many times. That one is a classic.
Yes. And now it's
There's
like a French defense, isn't it? Overall, it
Yeah.
turned into a French defense.
It felt alright. Maybe I was a bit too greedy with placing my knight there. Maybe this was a bit too much.
Why do you
Because
think
then
it was too much?
Because usually I want to. My idea is to play for wait. Wait.
The only thing is that
What's
if you
going on
place
here?
the knight on e7 and the pawn is on e4, so you would like the knight here, right? When the pawn is on e5. The only issue is white still hasn't pushed it, so imagine you start with this move and now he's not gonna push, most likely.
Okay.
So I think it's fine to play knight f6 and provoke him. It felt like you wanted to
Oh.
provoke e5.
I guess it is. Yeah, that pawn is gonna be all alone. I just move back and I will attack it right away. And if he tries to defend it, I can capture. And he needs to defend it with his queen, which is pretty wonky. Looks like.
Very good job.
Okay. All right. All right.
So knight f6, knight d7, and your opponent pushed f4.
Did I lose this game? How could I lose this game? My goodness. What am I seeing on the board? Okay. Here. Wait, he just prevented my check?
You took that knight for free. That was beautifully executed. That check, picking up the knight.
Did I lose this game, Alan? Because every good move I do, this just makes the loss worse.
You played really well at the start of this game, and you were a piece up. But we're gonna learn about defending the king a bit better because
Okay.
your opponent then launched an attack against your king that was actually not very easy to deal with. So it's a piece up.
All right.
But in a few moves, your opponent will start launching this attack h4, h5.
I kind of, yeah. I actually don't know how to proceed from here. Such a weird position. Should I just give up these c pawns?
You think you should sacrifice them?
Yes.
So you want to give them up in order to...
To just place my bishop here.
you want to open up the
And,
diagonal, I see. That's a very interesting idea that you have mentioned. So move by move, what would that look like? Your opponent,
So
your opponent played knight f3 here.
So now I begin to. And then what would be the response?
I guess your opponent should take it, because if it's not taken, you can keep pushing if you want to, or take. So white
Okay.
should take it, let's say, with the d pawn.
And then my idea is to continue.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that you are not holding on to that pawn because, oh, it's a pawn. You already are a piece up, so you don't necessarily need to be very greedy and count the pawns as well. To give up a pawn for activity, and the activity is that once there's no pawn on c6, you do have this diagonal, and your opponent does not have a light squared bishop. So it's great. I do love the fact that you are willing to sacrifice a pawn for dynamic factors. I didn't see this coming. I didn't think you were gonna say c4.
All right. I
But I
didn't
love
think
it.
about it in the game. I just remember now feeling very suffocated in this game.
Yeah,
I was like, what can I really do here?
yeah.
And it felt like every move of mine was just silly. It was just like my moves didn't do anything.
Yeah, because if we do the same, just to show to the viewers too, if you do the same to develop the bishop onto this diagonal without sacrificing a pawn and them to push, then this is just stuck here. I mean, you could still decide to sacrifice later, but without realizing that giving up that pawn could be advantageous to you, this bishop is like a gigantic pawn here. It's a tall
Yes,
pawn.
yes. Yes, yes.
So nicely done that you now spotted the idea that you could give up the pawn to open up the long diagonal, and that will give more power to your pieces, and you are a piece up. So once the diagonal is open up, once your pieces are active, it will be a lot easier to play the game.
Cool. All right.
Excellent.
What's the answer here from White?
Um,
Can he continue with his attack, or am I too fast?
I think he doesn't really have an attack, and he now that the diagonal is open, he should also. I think he should take care of his king now that the position is opening up. Yes, I think he would need to castle.
I guess I would just do the same, right?
Yeah, and without the light squared bishop, that diagonal is terrible. As soon as the knight moves away, you're gonna go for this queen bishop battery. I know you're gonna do that.
Yes, yes.
Excellent
Okay.
job. Yeah, that would have been
Brilliant.
really good. Even if white takes the d4 pawn, because yeah, after c4 you're basically offering both pawns, but white can only take one at a time, and whichever pawn is taken, it means the position is opening up. So this by principle is great that you realize that you need to open up the position, especially for this bishop. In the game,
cool.
you pushed a5. I think you wanted to find a way to activate it.
Yeah. Yes,
It's just
yes.
very difficult because everything is so closed.
I was
very
just thinking which piece which piece of mine needs to die for me to play the game. I was like, should I capture here? Should I capture here? Does this start anything at all? It was very, very, very desperate, the situation for me.
It's good thinking though, and now in hindsight you realize. I also like the fact that you stopped this h pawn. You didn't want to let it go all the way to h6, and then your opponent pushed g4. I think he did the best he could out of the situation. So it's a piece down for white, but he realized that he has to go for something aggressive in order to create counter chances. Some of these moves, like Ruby one, I'm not sure that he had to play, but you went for it eventually. You went for the pawn push.
No, my bishop is in the wrong place.
Yeah, and in the meantime the rook appeared here, so actually
Yes,
his Ruby
yes.
one paid out. But what the main point I want to arrive to is here. After you castled, he pushes g5, h takes, f takes, queen d8, and h6. So it's still a piece of position, but it's terrifying, isn't
Yes.
it?
Very terrifying, for sure.
Now let's think, what could you do? We can play through the next move and you can see what happened in the game.
So crazy, man.
You're brave. It's like the house is on fire. The house is on fire and you capture the pawn. I mean, if it shows confidence that you thought perhaps you will not get mated. Like, that's fine to think. If you don't get mated, it's fine to take the pawn.
My thought process was, if he pushes the pawn, I'll put my king behind the pawn. If he captures, I'll move my move my rook. I mean, move my rook. But then I realized if he captures, I will be in big trouble. And that was after I captured.
Yeah. So you only realized the danger behind h takes g7 after you took the pawn, right?
Yes.
It's all right. Sometimes it
I
happens.
was in a losing mindset, I think, in this game. It was not so great. It was a disaster.
It's okay. This is also just a reminder to the viewers. You had an Among Us session while you had this game, while you were playing in the Mouse Sleep Arena. So maybe not all the moves are ideal, and you may not have had enough time if you're in an emergency meeting. So it's okay. I know it's not fair to bring up this game as you were in 100% focus, but I wanted to show it for the defense because I think it's very important to try to understand what can you do here. So for instance, now. This move makes sense to trade. But how could you make your king safer? What can you do here? You moved king to g6 to try to run. Brave king strategy. Unfortunately, here didn't work too much because this check throws you back to where you were, and then the rook and the queen are on the h file. How could you try to survive here? What do you think would be an idea?
I guess this is the move.
Yeah, you need to
This
bring
looks
the
like
rook.
a move.
Exactly. So whether here or a move earlier, usually as soon as you can get the rook to the h file and try to trade, or just make sure that they are staring at each other. The two rooks are staring at each other, so white cannot enter your position. This would be one way to defend. Yeah, you need the rook there. Another thing I wanted to show is that when your opponent starts opening up the position h6, now I know that you perhaps didn't realize that this was very dangerous, but if you do realize it, what can you do about it here?
Am I safe with this?
g6. What happens if white gives this check? Are you scared of this?
I just hide behind it.
Exactly. Nicely done. You can use your opponent's pawn as a shield. It's protecting you. Really, it is. White wishes it wasn't on the board.
All right. Cool.
Excellent. So you can use this in future games to defend that you, even if the opponent makes it to h6 with the pawn, it's still not game over. You're going to try to keep everything as close as possible and let him push if he wants to, but you're going to hide in the corner. It would be a different story if you don't have this bishop and the white queen can make it somehow to those squares if your bishop and queen are not there, but that would be a totally different picture if you have issues on the dark squares. In this game, I don't think your opponent can get to the king ever. It would take some kind of a miraculous sacrifice to get the knight here and try to take here, but you need the queen too there to take there, and it takes forever. And you have a piece up, so you, as long as you don't get checkmated, you are winning this game.
Okay. Cool. I like that. I think the reason why I captured here, I had this idea if I had time to put bishop here. Wait, did he do the king move? Like, when did he do the king move? Because I thought the only way for me to win.
Oh, here, yeah.
I wonder if is this too slow?
It may not be too slow. You want to get rid of the bishop to threaten knight c3. That makes perfect sense to create threats of your own. Yeah, it could be still fine because white still needs to bring the queen to the h5 too, or bring the rook and then the queen to double. So just the rook on its own is not going to checkmate you. Good thinking that maybe you had time for this. It's really chaotic. And I'm not sure what's the best move here for white. I don't know if to move the queen. I don't know if to place the rook here to then bring the rook to then bring the queen to the corner. It's pretty messy, but you are right that you could also try this instead of knight c3.
Well, I guess he just continues the same way and doesn't. Like, I don't do it really anything there, right? Because he doesn't really need the bishop in the attack.
Yeah. But as soon as you take on d2, you have the c3 square. For instance, if he does the same that in the game, that it's first rook coming here, now you have a chance to exploit this.
Okay.
What would you play here?
I guess I'll just capture.
Yeah, and white has to be very careful how he takes back. Has to take back most likely with the king to not have this check. Now if knight c3, what's going on here? What do you think? So this would be a fork. Are you scared of this? The h-file, what's going on?
I guess I would just continue the same way, like with the defense that you taught me before.
Yeah, you can go for the defensive move. Another thing that's cool here is that, yeah, it looks terrifying if white gets to give those checks. It's gonna be checkmate in a few moves. But your threat, you're threatening the rook, right?
Yes.
Now, that capture on its own would not be a big deal. The issue for white is that it's a check, right?
Yes.
So you can go for the same defense, or you can take first the rook and then go for the same defense. So now you have even more material up.
Okay. I guess it's just more practical. I was thinking if my knight is just better than his rook.
Oh.
But maybe that's too complicated thinking.
Yeah. No, not complicated. Sometimes it is important to consider that the minor piece might be stronger than the rook. Here, I think another advantage of this, though, is that if white ends up taking it, then the queen is not on the h file. So they either will let you keep the knight on the board for now and have this position, or they have to move the queen away from the h file. But all this, in a blitz game, even if you don't take the rook, if you don't see it as a check, but you play rook h8, you still are not getting mated. So it's so important to bring that rook as soon as you can to the open file.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played like this idea, like with just having a rook staring down the other rook.
It's not an easy position, and if you haven't had it before, it looks terrifying when the opponent's pawns are here, this g5, h6. So very nice that you spotted that you can push next time to not have everything open. So this is easier to defend. The viewers were asking if you should go king g7, rook h8, but I would advise to hide the king in the corner. Like, yes, you could go and try to win this pawn, but in general, you want that pawn on the board, because if you win it, then the h-file opens up again. You're not in a hurry taking that pawn. I think it's better to use it as a shield, as you said, and go on with the rest of the game elsewhere. You don't need this pawn. You are a piece up.
Okay.
Nicely done, Jacob. I will have to see now if I need to join Levy already, but I definitely want to help you with more coaching sessions after the tournament, or maybe even before that. It's just that it makes it shorter, the lessons, but I hope it was still helpful.
Of course.
And I'm gonna give you homework. I'm gonna give you homework.
Okay, I'll take some homework.
3-0. More blitz games of 3-0. I know 3+2 feels like heaven now with the increment, so back to 3-0. Back to 3-0.
No worries at all. Back to 3-0.
Back to 3-0. And you can warm up with puzzles, just in case. Puzzle rush for the speed and the patterns. Puzzle rush with the time.
Give me a rating goal, Anna. Give me a rating goal.
A rating
that will
goal
make
for
me work
blitz.
harder. Yes.
Let me see. So your current blitz rating. The bullet rating is impressive. This morning. You did. The bullet rating is really impressive. Puzzle rating impressive too. For the blitz, 1126 now. Let's get above 1200.
Okay. All right. I'll get that done.
Yeah.
Make it 1300, Anna. Make it 1300.
Already? Okay. 1300.
Okay. That is my homework. You put that pressure on me.
I am putting that pressure on you, but I do want you to enjoy the games and focus on the quality of the game. So sometimes, even that game that we looked at, where you in the end, that nice c3 check, remember when you lost the rook on the back rank? So that was a brilliant game, one of your best games, and just because you lost the game, I still think you played extremely well. Sometimes it happens that you lose games that you should not. So I will still be very proud for those games. And that will not help you get closer to the 1300 rating mark. But overall, the rating will come sooner or later. It's the strength, it's the playing strength that we are focusing on, and to be practical in blitz chess too, because time control, especially without increment, is really difficult.
Okay.
So speed, and paying attention to your trademark, winning a queen.
Yes, for sure. No, thank you very much, Anna. I know that you are super busy. So any time that you had spare for me, I appreciate super much.
It's my pleasure.
Super helpful as always.
We should set up more coaching sessions, even if you don't mind that it's just it's shorter because of the broadcast, because now I have to hop on a call with Levy. But I will have more streams before the broadcast the next days too. So I'm happy to do it before the show.
Okay, yeah, I want to. Like on my end, before my season starts for the next year, this is the time where I will have the most time.
When does the season start, so that we know until when do you have chess time?
So basically, it's still secret which team I'm on or what I'm doing.
Yes.
But my work starts, it has started, but it's not as intense as it will be in the beginning of January, because then it's like 16-hour work days. It's... full steam ahead, pretty much.
I see. So until January, we need to make sure that you're gonna be the strongest PogChamp participant in the future. I see.
Yes, the first title player in PogChamps.
Yes. No. They will not let you play. They will so not let you play.
This is what you're doing to my ego, Anna. Like you're saying all my moves are so nice, and now I'm thinking that I'm gonna get titles.
You're gonna do well. We just need to make sure they let you play, because yeah, I hope they are not too strong for the event.
I just have to hide my Lich's account because that one is too high rated, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna deny you have another account with higher rating.
Yes. I wanted to ask one thing.
Sure.
What color of the board do you use? Like what
On
is the
chess.com,
secret
I
sauce?
have a. I think it's really personal. My one is a blue tone. I think it's the ICC.
Okay.
Which one do
I
you
will
use?
I will copy. I've been using the standard one
You don't have
the
to.
entire time.
I don't know if it's easier or not. Some people say the difference between the light squares and dark squares on my board is not the contrast is not high enough. So, but I like how it looks. I think it's a pretty board. It's all ICC. I have pieces that are ICC, board ICC, and the background is blue. So I have all blue tones, but it's so personal. Do take a look at some of the options you have, because there are some really cool ones. They're called like wood and glass and newspaper, tigers, nature, sky, space, ocean, gothic, metal, marble, graffiti, bubblegum. There's a bubblegum, and there's a cat. The laws is a cat one.
There's a cat one.
Yes,
Okay,
it's a cat with a hoodie.
Okay. I was watching Magnus Carlsen doing Banter Blitz, and he was using a chessboard that was a soccer field, and it was so disturbing to look at because all of the squares were the same color.
I know that one. That's difficult, and I see that this cat one, as cute the cat is, but it's like a glitter board. I think glitter would be a bit too much for the squares. It's a bit disturbing to the eye, but yeah, it's
Yes.
whichever works for you, really. Whatever looks nice to you, and just make sure that the pieces are have a high enough contrast. It's not something super difficult to see.
Okay. All right. That was a very silly question to use up your
It's
time with.
not.
Anna.
It's
I know you got to
not.
go.
No.
I will not keep you any longer.
That's fine. You'll tell
I'll
me
be
next
watching
time
the
which one you
coverage.
go for, because you'll tell me next
Okay.
time which board is your favorite, which piece and
Will do,
which
will
color.
do. For sure.
All the
Okay.
best for the practice games, the puzzles and the blitz. And
Likewise.
1300 is the next goal. 1300.
Yes.
Have a great day, Jacob. Thank you for joining
Thank you.
me.
Likewise.
And I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to help you
My
next
pleasure.
time
My
too.
pleasure. All the best. Take care
All
of
the
yourself.
best, everyone, at Yamato's channel. And on my channel, please use ! Yamato to support Jacob.
Thank you.
Have a
All the
great
best,
day.
Anna.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. This was streamed live on my Twitch channel, where I stream full time, 5 days a week. Do catch us live next time, or follow the highlights and the votes here on my YouTube channel. In either case, I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much again, and bye for now. Until the next time.